So what was that like when you were going from New York to Cleveland?
I ain't gonna lie, bro. I cried.
J.R. Smith's NBA journey is one of the most chaotic and misunderstood stories in modern basketball. From the beginning, his talent was undeniable, but controversy followed him everywhere. Off-court issues repeatedly threatened to derail his career.
I take full responsibility for everything that happened, but I mean, indeed, it was an accident. I mean, I know it's not going to bring him back. I apologize to everybody.
Many teams questioned whether his ability was worth the trouble. Critics labeled him reckless and unreliable. His name became associated with wasted potential. Few believed he would ever fully change. Early in his career, Smith struggled with maturity and discipline. His decisions off the court often overshadowed his performances on it. Legal trouble and questionable choices raised red flags across the league. Coaches grew frustrated with his inconsistency. Trust was hard to earn and easy to lose. Each mistake pushed him closer to the edge of the NBA. His future began to look uncertain as the years passed. Several franchises gave up on him entirely. Smith bounced from team to team with little stability. Every stop came with warnings and conditions. His reputation followed him into every locker room. Many believed he would never escape the label of a problem player. The league seemed to be running out of patience. His career was hanging by a thread. Despite the criticism, Smith never lost confidence in his talent. He continued to believe he belonged in the NBA. Underneath the chaos was a gifted scorer and fierce competitor. He just needed the right environment. Opportunity still existed, but it was shrinking fast. One more mistake could have ended everything. Time was running out. That opportunity finally came alongside LeBron James. Playing next to a leader who demanded accountability changed everything. Smith began to simplify his game and embrace a role. Defense, spacing, and effort became his focus. Slowly, trust was rebuilt. His transformation surprised even his harshest critics. Smith's reinvention turned him into a valuable role player. He stopped chasing highlights and started chasing wins. His shooting and toughness became assets. He contributed in high-pressure playoff moments. The same player once labeled untrustworthy was now dependable. His career took a dramatic turn. In the end, J.R. Smith completed one of the NBA's most unlikely turnarounds. He won the championships with LeBron James, from nearly out of the league to a proven winner. His journey was remarkable. His story became about growth instead of chaos. It proved that change was possible, and it redefined his legacy forever. The 2007 car accident marked one of the darkest chapters in J.R. Smith's life and career. Early in his NBA journey, he was involved in a tragic crash in New Jersey. The accident resulted in the death of his close friend. The incident shocked the basketball world. It instantly changed how Smith was viewed. Smith was later sentenced to jail time for reckless driving. The legal consequences were severe and unavoidable. For a young player still trying to establish himself, the punishment was career-altering. It placed his future in serious doubt. The NBA spotlight turned harsh overnight. Beyond the legal outcome, the emotional impact was devastating. Losing a close friend weighed heavily on Smith. Guilt and grief followed him for years. He struggled to process the tragedy privately. Few fans understood the depth of that pain. The accident damaged Smith's reputation across the league. Teams began to question his judgment and maturity. Front offices became cautious around him. Trust, once lost, was difficult to regain. His talent was no longer the only discussion point. Media coverage intensified the situation. Headlines focused more on the incident than his basketball ability. Smith became labeled as troubled early in his career. Every mistake afterward was magnified. The narrative began to spiral. Returning to the court was not easy. Smith carried emotional baggage into games. His performances were inconsistent. Confidence wavered during crucial moments. The tragedy lingered in his mindset. Teammates and coaches noticed a change in him. At times, he appeared distant and unfocused. The joy he once played with seemed reduced. Pressure mounted from all directions. Expectations did not slow down for personal grief. The league showed little patience for explanation. Smith was expected to perform regardless of circumstances. Compassion was rare in public discourse. Fans judged him harshly. Understanding was limited. Over time, the accident became a defining moment in his narrative. Critics tied later mistakes back to this incident. His name became associated with risk and instability. The stigma followed him team to team. Redemption felt far away. Yet this tragedy also became a turning point. It forced Smith to confront his life choices. Growth came. Slowly and painfully, the experience shaped his later maturity. It was the foundation of the long road to redemption. LeBron James' belief in J.R. Smith became the turning point of his NBA journey. At a time when many teams had lost patience with him, LeBron offered trust instead of doubt. That confidence mattered deeply. It gave Smith a reason to believe in himself again. The opportunity felt like a final chance. Smith understood the stakes immediately. He no longer played to impress with flashy shots. Instead, he focused on discipline and effort. Defense became a priority. He embraced doing the small things that help teams win. Playing alongside LeBron demanded accountability. Mistakes were visible and expectations were high. Smith responded by sharpening his focus. He learned when to shoot and when to step back. His decision-making improved noticeably. Smith also reinvented himself as a reliable spot-up shooter. Spacing the floor became his key role. When defenses collapsed on LeBron, Smith made them pay. His timely threes shifted momentum in big games. Trust grew with every clutch shot. The transformation was mental as much as physical. Smith matured into a professional who understood his role. Ego no longer drove his game. Winning mattered more than personal stats. This mindset change defined his redemption. That growth paid off in the postseason. Smith delivered crucial defensive possessions. He knocked down pressure shots when it mattered most. His contributions went beyond the box score. Teammates valued his presence. Winning the NBA championships validated his journey. Titles silenced many critics who once wrote him off. Smith proved he could thrive in a winning culture. His career narrative began to change. Redemption was no longer a question. Smith's story became one of second chances. From near rejection to championship contributor, the arc was complete. Trust, discipline, and growth reshaped his legacy. He showed that players can evolve, and with the right belief, redemption is possible. Smith's redemption also changed how fans viewed his entire career. Moments that once defined him for the wrong reasons began to fade. What stood out instead was his resilience. He stayed in the league when many expected him to disappear. That alone spoke volumes. Persistence became part of his identity. His journey also served as a lesson for younger players. Talent can open doors, but maturity keeps them open. Smith learned this the hard way. Every mistake pushed him closer to growth. By the end, he understood responsibility. That awareness extended beyond basketball. In the final chapters of his NBA career, Smith carried himself differently. He spoke openly about learning from failure. Championships gave him peace, not ego. His story became less about controversy and more about survival, and in the end, redemption defined him more than his mistakes. James Harden's off-court lifestyle has been one of the most debated aspects of his career, often overshadowing his brilliance on the basketball court. While his scoring ability and offensive genius made him a superstar, his nightlife habits became a constant talking point in the media. For many fans and critics, Harden's image extended far beyond basketball arenas.
Don't you open up that window?
Hey, this anymore.
Nike is cool.
Yeah.
Adidas about to be amazing.
Yeah.
Swag!
What was the whole beef about? Why was there? All right.
This contrast between elite performance and controversial lifestyle set the tone for years of discussion around his professionalism. During his peak years with the Houston Rockets, stories about Harden's frequent visits to strip clubs became almost inseparable from his public persona. Photos, reports, and anecdotes circulated widely, turning his nightlife into a running joke and a serious criticism at the same time. Opposing fans used it as ammunition, while analysts questioned whether such habits were sustainable for a franchise leader. Harden's name slowly became associated with excess as much as excellence. Critics often argued that Harden's partying raised concerns about his commitment, especially during crucial stretches of the season. The criticism intensified during playoff runs when Houston repeatedly fell short of championship expectations. Every poor performance or elimination fueled the narrative that Harden's focus was divided. Fair or not, the lifestyle discussion became a convenient explanation for postseason disappointments. Former players and media personalities openly debated whether Harden's habits affected team chemistry and leadership. Some claimed younger teammates followed his example, while others believed it created a culture lacking discipline. These discussions were amplified by the Rockets' failure to reach the NBA Finals. Despite having MVP-caliber talent, Harden's personal choices were placed under a microscope unlike most stars of his era. Harden himself consistently pushed back against these accusations, insisting that his off-court life had no impact on his on-court performance. He pointed to his durability, minutes played, and statistical dominance as proof. In his view, criticism was rooted in perception rather than facts. Harden maintained that he trained hard, prepared seriously, and delivered results night after night. Supporters defended Harden by highlighting that many elite athletes enjoy nightlife without it affecting their careers. They argued that Harden's workload and availability contradicted claims of laziness or lack of focus. To them, the criticism reflected double standards and outdated views on how modern athletes should live. Harden's production, they said, spoke louder than rumors. Still, the strip club narrative followed Harden wherever he went, becoming part of his legacy discussion, even as teams changed and roles evolved. The questions about professionalism never fully disappeared. This controversy didn't define his talent, but it shaped how the public viewed him, for better or worse. James Harden's lifestyle became a chapter of his story that basketball fans continue to debate. James Harden's time with the Philadelphia 76ers took a dramatic turn in 2023 due to a public contract dispute. What began as internal frustration quickly became a league-wide controversy. Harden felt betrayed by promises he believed were made behind closed doors. The situation exposed cracks in the relationship between star players and front offices. The core of the issue centered on Harden's expectation of a long-term contract extension. He believed the organization, particularly President Daryl Morey, had committed to rewarding his sacrifice. When that extension did not materialize, Harden felt misled. The disappointment soon turned into open anger. The controversy exploded when Harden spoke during a public event in China, in front of cameras and fans. He directly called Daryl Morey a liar. The blunt statement instantly went viral across social media. It shocked the NBA world due to its rarity and severity. This public accusation placed the 76ers in an uncomfortable spotlight. Front office credibility was questioned, and the team faced intense media pressure. The franchise struggled to control the narrative. The situation damaged trust between management and players. The NBA soon launched an investigation into the matter. The league wanted to determine whether any illegal contract promises were made. This added another layer of seriousness to the dispute. Harden's comments now carry potential consequences beyond public opinion. Harden's public image took a significant hit during this period. Some fans viewed his actions as unprofessional. Others believed he was bravely exposing the realities of NBA negotiations. The divide in opinion became deeply polarized. Teammates and coaches were placed in an awkward position. Questions about locker room chemistry became unavoidable. The focus shifted away from basketball and onto off-court drama. Team momentum suffered as uncertainty grew. For Harden, the incident reinforced an existing reputation for conflict. Critics tied this dispute to his previous exits from teams. Supporters argued he was standing up for himself. The debate further complicated his legacy. Ultimately, the 76ers contract dispute became one of the most controversial chapters of Harden's career. It highlighted the fragile relationship between stars and executives. Trust, once broken publicly, proved difficult to repair. The episode remains a cautionary tale in modern NBA dynamics. James Harden's time with the Brooklyn Nets was supposed to define a new era of NBA dominance. Alongside Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, the trio was labeled unstoppable. Expectations were sky high, and fans believed championships were inevitable. Instead, the experiment quickly unraveled into frustration and disappointment. One of Harden's biggest issues was constant instability. Injuries kept Durant in and out of the lineup. The team never developed consistent chemistry. Harden was often asked to carry the offense alone. What looked powerful on paper rarely translated on the court. Kyrie Irving's vaccine stance became a major turning point. His inability to play home games disrupted rotations and focus. Harden reportedly grew irritated by the uncertainty. He questioned whether the team was truly committed to winning. The situation created internal tension. Harden himself was not at full strength. He played through a lingering hamstring injury. His explosiveness was clearly reduced. Despite this, he was expected to perform at an elite level. The pressure added to his frustration as losses mounted. Harden's body language became a talking point. Fans noticed his disengagement. Critics claimed his effort declined in key moments. Rumors of unhappiness began to spread across the league. Eventually, Harden requested another trade. This decision shocked many supporters. It was his second trade demand in just over a year. The move raised serious questions about his leadership. When Harden was traded to Philadelphia, backlash followed immediately. Critics labeled him a quitter. They argued he runs when situations get difficult. His reputation took another hit. Supporters defended Harden's decision. They argued the Nets' chaos made success impossible. Injuries and off-court drama weakened the team's foundation. From this view, Harden chose stability over dysfunction. The Brooklyn Nets fallout became a defining controversy in Harden's career. It symbolized broken super team dreams. Trust between stars and franchises was again tested. The episode continues to shape how Harden is viewed today. Shawn Kemp's public image took a serious hit in 2005 when he was arrested in Seattle on charges of cocaine possession. For a player once known as one of the most explosive and dominant forwards in NBA history, the news shocked fans around the world.
He pleaded guilty to one count of assault in the second degree. The supersonic legend is accused of shooting at two men at the Tacoma Mall.
Kemp had already faded from the spotlight after retirement, but this incident dragged his name back into headlines for all the wrong reasons. The arrest marked one of the lowest moments of his post-basketball life. It confirmed fears that life after the NBA had not been kind to him. Many fans struggled to reconcile the superstar they once admired with a man facing criminal charges. The fall from grace felt sudden, but deeply troubling. The arrest occurred during a routine police stop, where officers reportedly discovered cocaine in Kemp's possession. Though the amount was relatively small, the symbolism of the incident was massive. For years, rumors had circulated about Kemp's struggles with discipline and substance use after retirement. This arrest appeared to validate those whispers in the harshest possible way. Media outlets quickly seized the story, replaying old highlights alongside mugshots and legal updates. The contrast between his glorious past and troubled present became impossible to ignore. Kemp was no longer discussed as a basketball icon, but as a cautionary tale. Public reaction to the arrest was mixed but intense. Some fans expressed disappointment, feeling let down by a hero who once represented power and excitement on the court. Others reacted with sympathy, pointing to the difficulty many athletes face after losing structure and purpose. Analysts began discussing the lack of post-career support systems for retired players. Kemp's situation sparked broader conversations about mental health, addiction, and life after fame. However, the dominant narrative remained negative. The damage to his reputation was immediate and severe. The arrest also reignited criticism of Kemp's post-retirement lifestyle. Reports highlighted years of weight gain, financial strain, and lack of direction after leaving the NBA. Critics argued that the warning signs had been visible long before 2005. Former teammates and insiders suggested that Kemp struggled with self-control. Once the discipline of professional basketball disappeared, the drug arrest became a symbol of deeper unresolved issues. It was no longer viewed as a single mistake, but part of a troubling pattern. Kemp's legacy began to shift in the public eye. Legally, Kemp faced consequences, but avoided long-term imprisonment. He later entered treatment and worked to address his substance issues. While this showed an attempt at accountability, the stain on his image remained. Sponsors, public appearances, and basketball-related opportunities became far less frequent. The NBA world largely moved on without him. Redemption, if it were to come, would not be quick or easy. Kemp was now fighting a personal battle far from the roar of the crowd. The 2005 arrest became a defining moment in how Shawn Kemp's life after basketball was remembered. Instead of discussions about his dominance with the Seattle Supersonics, conversations shifted toward wasted potential and poor choices. Younger fans who never saw him play came to know his name through controversy rather than greatness. His achievements on the court were increasingly overshadowed. The incident reshaped how history would remember him. It marked a moment when nostalgia gave way to regret. Ultimately, Shawn Kemp's drug-related arrest stands as a stark reminder of how fragile life after fame can be. It highlighted the challenges athletes face when their careers end and the spotlight fades. Kemp's story is not just about drugs or legal trouble, but about the difficulty of transition and identity loss. The arrest was a turning point that exposed deeper struggles. For fans, it was heartbreaking to witness. For the sports world, it was a lesson rarely learned. And for Kemp himself, it was a moment that changed everything. The struggles Shawn Kemp faced after his 2005 arrest did not exist in isolation. Beneath the legal trouble was a deeper issue that had been quietly building for years. Kemp's personal life had become increasingly complicated after retirement. One of the biggest factors was his growing financial burden. This pressure followed him long after his playing days ended. Shawn Kemp fathered at least 7 children with 6 different women over the years, while earning millions during his NBA career. These responsibilities did not seem overwhelming at first. However, once the contract stopped, the reality became unavoidable. Child support payments continued regardless of income changes. the financial weight began to close in. Reports suggest that Kemp's monthly obligations were extremely high. Legal commitments required consistent payments that far exceeded what most retired athletes manage. Without NBA salaries, maintaining that level of financial responsibility became difficult. His lifestyle had already adjusted poorly after retirement. The pressure intensified rapidly. Despite his past wealth, Kemp reportedly faced serious money stress. Poor financial planning and reduced income left little room for error. Assets diminished while obligations remained fixed. This imbalance created constant tension in his life. Financial strain became a daily reality rather than a temporary setback. Friends and analysts believe this pressure contributed to his poor decisions. Financial stress often feeds emotional instability and risky behavior. Kemp's arrest and personal struggles appeared connected to this ongoing burden. The lack of structure after basketball made everything worse. One problem fueled the next. The situation also damaged Kemp's public image further. Fans struggled to understand how a former superstar could face money problems. Media narratives shifted toward mismanagement and regret. His story became a warning rather than an inspiration. The legacy he built on the court began to fade. In the end, Shawn Kemp's financial strain revealed a harsh truth about life after fame. Wealth alone does not guarantee long-term stability. Without planning and support, even legends can fall hard. Kemp's struggles were deeply human and painfully visible. His story remains a lesson the sports world continues to ignore. Most shocking chapter of Shawn Kemp's post-NBA life came in March 2023. Fans were stunned when news broke that the former superstar was involved in a shooting incident in Tacoma, Washington. According to reports, the situation began after Kemp's truck was broken into. What followed quickly escalated into a moment that nobody expected from a once celebrated icon. The headlines alone were enough to shake his legacy. Authorities stated that Kemp fired shots during what was described as a drive-by shooting. Kemp later claimed he acted in self-defense after confronting the suspects connected to the theft. While no one was seriously injured, the seriousness of the incident could not be ignored. The story spread rapidly across sports media. Public reaction was a mix of disbelief and disappointment. As the legal process unfolded, the case took a different turn than many anticipated. Kemp ultimately pleaded guilty to a reduced charge of second-degree assault. This plea allowed him to avoid prison time, sparing him from the most severe consequences. Still, the admission carried weight. It confirmed that the situation had crossed legal boundaries. For fans, the incident felt like another painful blow to Kemp's image. Once known for his power dunks and electric presence, he was now being discussed in police reports rather than highlight reels. The contrast between his past greatness and present struggles became impossible to ignore. Each controversy added another layer to a complicated post-career story. The hero narrative continued to fracture. In the end, the 2023 shooting incident marked a sobering conclusion to Shawn Kemp's long list of off-court troubles. It showed how quickly life can unravel when pressure, loss of structure, and personal struggles collide. Kemp's story is no longer just about basketball greatness. It is about choices, consequences, and the fragile line between fame and downfall. Despite everything, Shawn Kemp's basketball legacy still deserves respect. He was a generational talent who brought energy, fearlessness, and excitement to the NBA during his prime. Fans will always remember the thunderous dunks, the swagger, and the unforgettable moments he gave the game. His story serves as both a tribute to his greatness and a reminder of how vital support and stability are after the spotlight fades. Kemp remains a powerful symbol of raw talent, unforgettable impact, and the human struggles behind fame.